right. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
Ginger.
morning. I'm Ginger Conlon. Good morning, Milind. Welcome to MarTech Advisors video interview. I'm Ginger Conlon again. I am a contributing editor to MarTech Advisor, and joining me this morning is Milind Katti, who is CEO of DemandFarm. So again, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's talk about key account management this morning. So key account management, account-based marketing, these approaches are experiencing basically a resurgence. And along with that, popularity is best practices. And part of the reason this is happening is the new technology that's available today that is really taking hold. So what's the opportunity that you see for companies that either are just considering account-based key account management technologies? Like what opportunity are you seeing for them to improve their processes as a result?
Sure. So basically, see, be it CAM or ABM per se are not very new in terms of business processes. They always existed for a long time. What is interesting is that how do you automate that and how do you use technology for all of that? So obviously, technologies is easy to apply for processes or tasks which are repetitive and simple in nature, and therefore technology started helping with activity management for salespeople to begin with, and then we started managing opportunities for sales guys using technology. And I think now is the time for us to look at key account management as a whole and then see how technology makes sense there. So now the availability of faster computer power coupled with algorithms to make meaning out of unstructured or complex data has made it possible for us to enable key account management processes with technology now, Ginger.
Right, excellent. So, along with some of these changes, the lines are blurring between the roles of the CMO and the chief sales officer and the chief technology officer and their teams. How are you seeing those lines blurring?
So I have always believed that since majority of the revenue, sometime upwards of 80% actually, is from key accounts, especially for B2B companies, right? So therefore, that's all functions and leaders in that business should have high focus on helping key account managers actually. So if the CEOs and then the CEOs help key account managers, they are kind of growing and sustaining 80-90% of their revenues. So thus, CAM enablement is actually the primary objective of sales operations in such kind of organizations. So so primarily for B2B companies with multiple complex solutions with long-term engagement with their customers is where the sales ops primary job is enabling CAM, and then the leader's primary job is to empower key account managers and the processes thereof.
So, it's interesting what you were saying about how sales operations fits into all this. And so how exactly would you define CAM enablement?
So CAM enablement per se is so in CAM, when you see, right, you will see two types of processes. So one is which are repetitive and simple in nature. That's one piece of it. The second part, of course, is unique, complex decisions that key account managers have to take for their specific situation. Now, CAM enablement, therefore, depends on these two kind of processes. So one is you automate those repetitive processes. That's one part of it. The second part of it is the complexity can be reduced with using certain frameworks around key account management processes. So you use certain frameworks, make that framework easily through a technology that is available. So you reduce the complexity and then you automate a simple tasks. And then you throw in a couple of productivity tools as well to the key account manager in terms of feeding him with the right account intelligence or social footprints of key people in that account and then so on. That's how CAM enablement can play a big role in terms of improving the way we are managing our key accounts or strategic accounts today.
Right. So that's excellent. So You mentioned a lot of technology and how it's helping. How does the CAM enablement technology fit into the MarTech stack? Is it part of the stack? Is it along, enhancing it?
MarTech actually is a huge thing, right? So it's the scope of MarTech per se today is much bigger in terms of its context as well as its scope. So I definitely believe that CamTech is definitely part of the MarTech in the overall scheme of things. So, but if you look at for B2B companies with complex solutions, I mean, CamTech is kind of MarTech, if I may say, along with ABM, of course. So, uh, so what happened was uh, such kind of technology didn't exist around a couple of years ago, right? So, so what people did was they either did something in-house, the CMOs did something in-house, or uh, they had to make do with the standard issue CRMs that were already available. But now there are specialized CAM technologies like DemandFarm, which are available on the cloud in a SaaS model. So there is really no excuse to ignore it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's a great lead into my next question, because customers' expectations, whether it's B2C, B2B, are rising, right? Because B2B buyers they're consumers, so their expectations are rising, and then competition may be taking on new technologies. So do you feel like CAM enablement technologies are a must in B2B organizations today, especially large ones?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, because of the large revenue contribution they make as a strategic accounts invariably give you majority of your revenue, right? So therefore, CAM technology is a must in those kind of organizations. So see, again, the issue is that so far, CAM technology, so key account management as a process was very, very person dependent because of the unique decision making that was involved there. So that cannot scale. That kind of a model cannot scale. And on the other hand, you're also making your uh, and usually key account managers managing millions of dollars are fairly senior folks in the organization. You don't want them to spend time on unproductive activities like repetitive tasks. So
Right.
so give them automate the repetitive tasks. Give them the framework so that the complexity is reduced. The problem with uniqueness is that such model cannot scale, and if you manage your key accounts with simple tasks, then that is ineffective. So how do you bring all of this together using technology so that your CAM becomes sustainable, number one, scalable, number two, and also become very effective? So that's the reason why I think technology is going to play a big role in terms of key account management going forward.
Yeah. One other question I wanted to throw in, you mentioned earlier about data, and it's great, all the simplifying the process for the key account managers, because they have such an important role. Like you said, they should be focused on strategic activities, not the repetitive. But one of I think the assets of a CAM enablement technology is also bringing the data together. Can you talk a little bit about how important that is?
So today, if I look at, so when I speak to a lot of my customers and then the people that I keep interacting with, so what's happening today is that the data is spread across the organization, multiple systems, right? The data around key accounts, that is. So there is opportunity and contacts for my key accounts, which are invariably in your CRM, whatever CRM that you're using. Then there is key account plans, which exist either in PowerPoints or templates based on which you want to create your annual account plans, which are like probably hundreds of account plans lying in your PowerPoint somewhere. And then there's a lot of intelligence in terms of what relationship do we have, who is my supporter in that account, who's my detractor in that account, and then so on, which is in key account manager's head. So none of this is good if I were to institutionalize the process and then scale it as we go. And that's where I think CAM technology is going to play a big role. So can we bring all of that in a single system? I mean, most probably, I suggest my recommendation to bring all of that into your CRM that you're using, because that's the mother platform nowadays. So if you're using Salesforce.com, can I have my account plans inside Salesforce.com, and can I build my account plan using contacts, opportunities, account data already that existed, using contacts that existed. So and then plug in some of the powerful intelligence feeders into it. I mean, imagine a situation where I'm the key account manager. Here are my 5 key contacts in that account, and then I get their tweets and LinkedIn feeds uh, inside there. So basically, I automate their Google search, which they are supposed to do anyways, and that will enable social connect with the right people in that account. So these are some of the examples in which, but data has to be brought into a single platform. And the other big risk is invariably when an account manager leaves, uh, he or she takes the account with them. That's the unwritten rule, right? So how can I have a fighting chance to continue to grow that account as an organization? So that's another place where key account management technology will play a big role, I think.
Right. Actually, yeah, to help that institutional memory and keep that relationship going. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about DemandFarm and how you see it being different than other players out there in the market. What are some of the unique assets?
Sure. So basically, we've worked on 3 important philosophies or guiding principles with respect to everything that we do at DemandFarm. So one thing is very clear that sales guys or account managers hate data entry and filling long forms. But unfortunately, key account management requires a lot of that stuff. So our focus is always how do I provide them with analysis upfront using the existing CRM data, so that I don't want to give another system wherein sales guy says, hey, here is another system wherein I am adding data not for myself but for my boss. So that's one of the key focuses. So we call that as data consumption model rather than data creation model of a system. So the second one is, as I was talking earlier about the frameworks, it's very clear. So what we've done at DemandFarm is could be various ways, but there is an overarching framework around which key account planning and then process happen. So what we've tried to do, but at the same time, each of the vertical or each of my customer, suppose there's an IT services customer has their own flavor in terms of key account management. A manufacturing company could have a slightly different flavor. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to make the system flexible enough to accommodate the nuances of the industry verticals that the customer is using. At the same time, the framework give us the guiding overarching philosophy around that. So we didn't want to make a one size fit all rigid system. So flexibility is the second point. And the third thing is, of course, everything is around insights. So even in our very young company, with little bit of journey that we've had, the aggregated data around your multiple key accounts is a powerful gold mine. The kind of insights that can be uncovered with that is huge opportunity there. So those are the 3 things that we focus on, like data consumption, flexibility. Third thing is insights.
Excellent. And so what prompted you to start DemandFarm?
The first company, Ginger, that we built was providing demand generation services to a lot of B2B companies. That's the company that I started with a couple of years ago. And in that business, we also ran a small research team because a lot of our customers wanted to say, hey, I need account intelligence, I need account profiles, and then so on. So we used to run a small research team around there. Now, every time that we built those account profiles, it always intrigued me to say, okay, how is this data consumed now? And I've always found it hard with my customers that's powerful insights were not very well consumed by the people, by the users. So that led me to think that is there a technology that can be built to solve that problem of consuming the data? And then I obviously went and asked all my existing customers in that company and then say that, okay, does this make sense? And then very encouraging while I was trying to validate that idea. And that's how I set out to build it. The good part is I built most of this technology with the customers. And great thing is most of them are now paying customers of DemandFarm.
Excellent. So, what's next for DemandFarm? What's on the roadmap? The next innovation on the roadmap that people should watch for?
I think the insights. So how can I use machine learning to provide better insights? So as I said, like there's a lot of data out there. So today the technologies, in the beginning, the job of technology was to give the right information at the right time. But now there is an overload of information. So how can you actually narrow it down, filter it down, and then talking about giving meaningful insights to the key account managers? So to me, there's this big thing that I keep talking about as an analogy, that James Bond keeps doing great, amazing stuff, and he does it with the help of Quartermaster Q, right? So and then so I always saw that like a DemandFarm will be that queue, so that our aim is to make every key account manager that James Bond. That's our mission.
Excellent. I love that. I love that. Well, Milind, thank you so much. Again, Milind Katti, CEO of DemandFarm. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Ginger. Thank you.